Good evening, friends. Sorry for the bumpy start. I'm engineering the show from my home studio in Chicago, Illinois. I'm Jerry Vasilatos. Welcome to another episode, hopefully informative episode for all of you out there of my osseointegration journey. I am an osseointegration recipient here in Chicago, Illinois. I'm a month and a half post-op now with my implant, and I thought before I underwent this journey, that it might be valuable to share my progress and matters related to osseointegration to a wider audience of people who are amputees that might not be aware of the process, are maybe investigating the process, or discovering the process, as well as a wider range of viewers that aren't aware of this process either. I mean, it came as a surprise to me when I was researching prosthetic upgrades a year ago. That this particular transplant, I don't know if we'd call it implant innovation was available to amputees, implanting a titanium rod into your residual femur so that you have a bone anchored prosthesis that gives you much more comfort, much more mobility, and just a better quality of life. So I've gotten tired of talking about myself and my story because, you know, I'm in a waiting period right now. I'm in a holding pattern. My implant is healing. The bone is strengthening around the titanium rod, but I'm not going to know. I'm not progressing with the next stage of my progress for another 2 months because that's how long it's going to take until the doctors are satisfied with allowing me to weight bear, so that I've got strength in my bone with the implant on the prosthetic hardware that they anchor underneath me. So in lieu of talking about myself, I have been very, very blessed to discover other people through the social media groups that I've been sharing this channel with, specifically amputee and osseointegration groups. Last week, I had a guest on and we talked about medical coding challenges for insurance. This week, my guest is from Alberta, Canada. His name is David Fehr. David reached out to me almost a month ago, and I've been trying to coordinate scheduling to get him on, and I'm really grateful he's been patient with my schedule because I took a week off. I just needed some healing time as I was a little bit sore with having the strength to come on and do the program. But David's here tonight. And what's exciting about David joining us as a guest is he's now 3 years into his life with an osseointegrated implant, which is going to be really exciting for me as I probe him with questions on his progress and how things are different from when he used to have a socket prosthesis. Challenges he underwent, issues with being able to afford his procedure in Canada, even though they've got a more friendly, socialized healthcare system. He did share with me that he had to explore participating in a clinical study as well, because the costs associated with this particular procedure as an elective choice can be challenging, I guess, if you don't have what we call here in the United States the Cadillac healthcare. And even the Cadillac healthcare, as you heard in last week's show, doesn't always follow through when you think you've put all the paperwork through properly. So I'm going to share David's story first before we bring him on. Oh, one other thing I wanted to share before we go on. I don't think I shared this last week, but this is my implant. Is it coming up? There we go. That's what they put inside me. That's my residual femur. This is not as conventional an implant as I was researching before I had my procedure. As I was looking at Oprah implants, they're longer titanium rods. They go higher into the bone. So the way that this is anchored into the bone is it was interesting to me against the other types of x-rays I'd seen with other osseointegration patients. And David's x-ray looks a little bit different from mine also. So we might talk about the differences in which procedures we had done. But for now, let me share with you David's story, and then we will bring him in to chat and welcome him. So without further ado, here is David's story from YouTube.
The top part here, this is what they're looking at get taken away, because this is so cumbersome. Like, you can never sit straight. You're always twisted. I've had some people tell me, and I do believe it, that walking around with a socket prosthetic, you have to exert twice as much energy for whatever you are doing. I'm David Fehr. I'm from Fort Macleod, Alberta. I'm a welder, and then I've had lots of experience in heavy-duty mechanical and ag tech mechanical. It was an icy morning, very windy morning. I was just coming out of Fort Macleod at 60 kilometers an hour, stepped on the gas a little bit, and it just happened that when I hit the ditch, flipped the vehicle over, landed on its roof right on the driver's side, right in the front there. In the end, I was pretty broken up. I had a broken neck. I had a broken shoulder, 14 broken ribs, 4 of them flailed, lesion in my spleen, fracture in my pelvis. Both my knees were hyperextended the wrong way. Left knee was shattered. And then my right, I broke some bones down on below the knee. I broke some bones there. I almost lost both.
It hurts. I mean, I'm hurting just listening to what poor David went through. Every time I hear somebody relate their story, I'm like flinching, and my nerves just like tighten up, because it's like, oh my God, you don't want to imagine it, but you can imagine it if you've been through any kind of an accident with extreme pain. But let's continue.
Both legs. This is what I've got here. This is a socket prosthesis. This one here is on by vacuum. You can never sit straight. You're always twisted. I'm hurting by the end of the day. My back hurts, everything hurts. So that's my prosthetic there. And so it's a whole pile of layers. My leg isn't lined up straight. I don't walk properly. I got to take it back off and realign everything. How do you go work for somebody and say, hey, I got to lay down for 2 hours in the middle of the day, flat on my back, so I can rest? You know, you come home and you're tired and you're beat, and you want to go do something with the kids, or you want to go do something with your wife. Well, a lot of times that puts that out.
Yeah, good.
Excuse me.
This feels okay?
Yes.
Yeah, just that little bit of rotation. Don't let this part of your body move. There you go. Good, David.
It hurts more this way.
Yeah, when you do it the correct way, it definitely is harder.
Coming out of osseointegration, it was kind of overwhelming because it was a major operation. I mean, they shortened my leg again by, I think, 4 centimeters, something like that. And then they put a metal rod up the center of the bone. So now I have a metal rod sticking out of my bottom of my leg. So that's what I get to live with now, which in a lot of aspects is a lot better than it was before. But it's slowly getting better every day.
It is getting better, yeah. Yeah, it's softening up. Why don't we just do a couple of laps across here, and then we'll go into the bars.
Sure.
And do that.
Okay.
Okay? So do you want to just...
I mean, the first couple of weeks, it's very tiring. It's a lot of work.
And then careful when you turn that you're not pivoting on that foot.
Well worth it, because a lot of times your gains were daily. Like every day was getting better and better. Every day was better than the last.
Try to slow the right leg down a little bit.
They got to the point of getting my prosthetic leg back and adjusting it, and then 2 crutches for walking aids, forearm crutches, and then slowly progressed off of those, and getting my body healed, and then getting me to put weight on my own bones again. I hadn't been using those bones for almost 5 years.
So go ahead and hop up on here. Use your arms lots. Yeah, just place your feet up there. So lifting this up and down in front of your body nice and slow. Try to have a little bit more weight on that left side.
The Glenrose, the whole team effort, it's been great. It was Serena, it was the prosthesis, it was the doctors. They all talked to each other. They all basically kept tabs on what the others were doing. The whole team effort just made everything better. That part has been really, really good. Okay.
Fantastic. All right. We'll hop off of there.
Comparing socket to osseointegration is so much better. It's not even describable. And the feeling of what you're walking on, I can walk across the room and I can step on a small cord and I can tell you that it's a cord. I can feel the slippage under my foot. And whereas you can't get that through a socket, it always feels like it's not a part of you. This now feels like it's part of me.
My wife does my jeans for me, so she puts zippers in for me. And then this is my leg. This is the osseointegration. The shaft goes in the center of my bone and it goes all the way up to here. And that's the simplified version of it. And this is how fast it comes off. Literally that fast. And it attaches in here. And this is one of the features of having osseointegration is I can rotate it. So, and then to put it back on, it is literally on. It's that fast. And that's one of the nice things about osseointegration is that saves so much time compared to with a socket and taking so much. The fastest I ever could put my socket on was 5 minutes. That was the fastest. And that was not guaranteeing it was even going to be straight.
Sometimes with the socket, in the middle of the day, you'd have to stop and take it off and change and put more padding in and stuff just to make it fit properly or take padding out. The more you'd overwork it, the more you would pay at night when as soon as you took the socket off, it would be all blisters. Whereas now I don't get that. I don't get, even if I do overwork it, it's because the rest of my body is tired, not just because my leg is tired. I still have to be careful with it that I don't over twist it. So there goes my hockey career, which I didn't have one before anyways, but that's besides the point. But overall, it's so much better. This gives me more time to spend with the family and more quality time at times, because instead of being home and just laying down and just being right tired, I have more energy left for the family a lot of times. And I'm not saying that I still don't go home and lay down for half an hour or something like that just to recuperate a bit. But it's overall, I do have more time for family, for other activities.
Now, I know any other viewer of the program that's suffering from limb loss can relate, especially at the end there, where David was sharing how cumbersome it is to wear a prosthetic limb with a socket. As I demonstrated in the first program, I had my friend John and Art help shoot me getting my socket on, and they were like dumbfounded at how long and how arduous a process it is. As David demonstrated there, it's like lickety split, man. You connect it on and you're off to the races. And speaking of David, hey man, welcome to the program.
Hello, welcome to my shop.
That's great. I live in an apartment in Chicago on the second floor, and I've got a basement available to me, but it's so stockpiled with old furniture and stuff from my family. I wish I had a workshop. I'd like to convert it to what you have so I can do more. So that's pretty impressive. What do you work on in your shop there?
I work on mostly farm equipment, a lot of all sorts. So I've got a 150-foot man lift that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Rewiring a bunch of stuff. Rebuilding a set of heads for a 6.2 Chevy LS right now.
Nice.
So I do I do whatever. I just work for myself now. So
Have you ever made any adjustments to your new prosthetic limb, or do you leave that to the experts?
you know what? No, actually, I'm one of the few that before I went in and got my osseo, because of COVID and everything, I got my original operation was supposed to be when COVID started, and
Okay.
I got shoved back 2.5 years because of COVID. 6 times they slated me for my operation, and 6 times I got canceled, if not more.
Wow.
And so that whole time I wasn't even going to the prosthesis. I was just doing all my own adjustments. And so when I came in there, they couldn't believe like how adjusted I had it. So yes, I've been doing my own adjustments, but I will tell you one thing. Since 3 years ago, since they adjusted my alignment and everything on my foot, it hasn't been touched. The alignment, nothing's been touched. So somebody with a socket going 3 years with no adjustments, that's impossible.
Yeah, I used to, when I would try to avoid visits to the prosthetist by teaching myself just a little bit about the adjustments in the knee with angles and stuff, or replacing rivets that would pop on the socket, because you've got like you've got the bucket, then you've got the framework around it. Sometimes a rivet would pop out and it's like, oh, I don't want to drive all the way over there. I learned how to just do minor repairs like that. But man, the point that you made about when you put on a socket prosthesis and you don't even know if it's aligned right or the angle is wrong, that haunts you throughout the day, because you start off getting it all aligned, and then you crawl into your car, and then you get out of your car and everything's out of alignment, and you're shifting and everything else to get it back straight. And at that point, you've perspired and it's uncomfortable, and then like whatever other wear time you've got is impacted, because now you're sore because the skin is chafing, or you've got the stretching of the skin, especially in that sensitive area in the groin, that it's unavoidable. One of the things I was going to ask you watching that video again was that we had the before of you walking with a socket, very, very slight limp. And I think that's because you do have a longer limb, which is great. No limp at all in the osseointegration after video. I think it was from 2020. Was it the after was 2021?
2022.
2022.
That would have been 20.
So
that last video was probably done in 2023.
Did you walk with a cane before when you had a socket prosthesis? Did you walk without it, but sometimes need a cane?
They actually discouraged canes. They wanted the forearm crutches, or they didn't like canes. Canes make you bend, hunch over.
Right. Well, I've been walking all my life with a cane with a really, really short residual limb. So when I walk around my apartment, I don't use, my friends will tell you, I'm not using my cane because I'm in a small space, but after some time I start to limp. But it doesn't look like, aside from your recovery, when you needed the forearm crutches and you were in the weight bearing phase, do you use any assisted devices now, or are you pretty much everything?
I did have a pretty good fall here before Christmas, and I ended up with a bone spur in my pelvis, and then I fell, and that bone spur went into my bone, and jammed into the. So I was off my legs for 6 weeks here this Christmas because of that. And now, did it have to do with the osteo? Yes, no. It had to do with losing my limb. That leg has had so much trauma to it that I got a bone spur on it, and so it wasn't. But now I'm just to the point. I'm walking with a walking stick. I'll walk with a walking stick around the yard or in snow, because
you got to be careful.
The snow, and I'm on an acreage. I've got 8.5 acres here. So when I'm outside, I usually have a walking stick with me, just because the grass and stuff trips you up.
Sure.
Anything long like that trips you up. But as far as when I'm walking normally now, it's just, you just walk.
See, I don't mind so much walking with a cane. It's just when it becomes you're leaning into it so much with the socket. So even if I'm stuck with a cane when I transition into walking with a prosthesis, as long as I'm not feeling that I'm leaning so much on the left side, because now with the bone anchored prosthetic with the implant, it's part of you. As you mentioned, it's like you can feel things. I've sometimes been able, even with my socket, to I know I'm stepping on something. I don't know what it is. Also, I want to really quickly thank everybody who's in the live chat. I want to thank Uncle Warren, Extra Bulla, also known as Extra Bulla, my very, very good friend Art. No, Art, how can I be watching Star Wars when we're here talking about osseointegration? But I have caught up with Andor. It's a great show. And also my very good friend Lainey Peterson. Thanks, Lainey, for joining in. And my friend and colleague from Chicago Corner, Ed. Yeah, it is a major upgrade that we've seen with David, and I can't wait to get mine. Just got to be patient. So Art asks, this is an interesting question. What can you do now that you couldn't do before with a socket? So I can look forward to the things I might be able to do.
Is
there anything specific? Aside from the socket sliding off and you worrying about your leg popping off.
Yeah. And the question should be more, what can you not do?
Oh,
It's not
wow.
what can you do? It's what can you not do?
Okay.
Because I'm probably pretty stubborn, so I don't even have a handicap sticker. I leave that for people that are handicapped.
Nice.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I do have my CDL. They've knocked me down to automatic only until I can go in there and prove that I can drive a standard, which I can. I can drive a standard, but because of COVID and everything, you couldn't get an appointment, nothing, so they knocked me down. So, and that's part of the reason I don't have a handicap sticker is because they would have taken my CDL away, and I would have to retest everything.
Other problems, yeah.
So, I mean, I've got my CDL. I have, because it's my left foot, I can ride motorcycle, but I can only keep it in one gear right at the moment until I get a hand shift. So I can't ride a motorcycle with a foot shift because I can't shift my foot.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's more I can do everything anybody else can do, really.
What's your knee component? Do you have a C-leg or a genium?
Genium X3.
See, I got to see if my insurance is going to cover that, because even though I took part in a clinical study, thankfully the costs were covered. I still have to put through to Medicare and see what kind of a knee I'm going to get. So for the audience out there that isn't acquainted with what the difference is between a C-leg microprocessor in the knee and a genium, I have a C-leg microprocessor right now, and essentially what that does is, if this is your leg and you bend it, it will lock underneath you when it's bent so that you're stable and it doesn't buckle and you don't fall. But if you need to go upstairs and you lift your leg, it's not going to straighten for you. That's what a genium knee does, though. A genium actually has the ability to allow you to walk step over step the way you normally would if you had your knee, in ways that the C-leg doesn't. But it's it's a much more advanced technology that, insurance companies, I guess, if you've got, as I understand, the Gold Care, the Cadillac insurance here in the United States, some will cover it. I don't know if Medicare is going to cover it for me. We haven't inquired yet, but I'd love to get a genium to be more active. Because the way I look at this, David, is that I feel like once I get fitted, I'm going to be recovering like the last 15 years I couldn't do stuff. I mean, I was limited the past 15 years. As you get older, you get a little bit more creaky, you lose energy. I mean, I wish this technology had been available like 25 years ago, right? But I feel like I'm going to recapture some of my youth and my mobility, be able to ride a bicycle without my leg popping off, get up on a horse and ride a horse. You talk about motorcycles. I'd love to try that again soon safely. I mean, I still kind of wince at the idea of wiping out and hurting my good leg, but everything has to come with safety and being aware of like how to protect yourself so you don't incur other injuries while you're also recapturing your life activity and your quality of life.
No, I agree. And like I say, but the only thing I was going to mention to you on, don't get sold on that genium walking upstairs.
Okay.
Walking upstairs, that is a painful endeavor.
Okay.
Because the way you have to kick your foot and do it, it doesn't actually move for you. It's not a powered knee. It is a controlled knee, hydraulically controlled by a microprocessor.
Okay.
So you're still kicking your leg up and you're still kicking your body weight up. So to tell you the truth, walking upstairs, I do it one step at a time. Honestly,
no, I'm not going to. I don't have a problem going one step at a time. When you're in a socket, it's hard. And yes. I know that people were fitted with genium knees with sockets, and what you're just describing, it's like I couldn't even imagine wanting to do that in a socket. I feel like if I wanted to give it a try with the bone anchored implant here, it might be a little bit more manageable. But even then, it's like, okay, at what point, to you now, the question to you, since you've got the osseointegrated implant, at what point do you kind of like temper yourself? Because as you mentioned, you fell. The risk everybody who undergoes this procedure is got to have in mind all the time is not stepping the wrong way or doing too much that you might risk a fracture in your bone where the implant is going into. And they've got that safety component in between that is supposed to be like an emergency release, that it's like if something twists the wrong way before you fracture your bone, it disconnects. And we're always trained to know how to fall. So that's the component there? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And it did release on me on my fall, and my leg was sticking sideways.
Okay. Oh wow.
So like, and it's like a ratcheting drill, kind of like it goes click, click, click.
Yeah.
So So yeah, this one here, that's how it releases.
Okay.
But if I did see, the thing is, even after I fell, like I made one phone call to my doctors in Edmonton, and they were right on it. Get to the hospital, take X-rays. They wanted to see if there was any crack, fracture, anything there, and there wasn't. And so it held up really good. But I've got a long anchor. I've got a long, fairly long piece in there.
Speaking of that,
yep,
there it is.
Exactly. So mine goes up pretty high.
Yeah.
But if I do fracture the bone or something, they literally have to take it back out.
Oh God.
Try to let my body heal, and then I might get one back.
Okay.
So now I have very good doctors that I've been dealing with in Edmonton. They're awesome, but depending on the conditions, you may not get it back. And being as like I saw your X-ray, it's fairly short. I would definitely never kick up a stair.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm still going to be going step over step, but
yeah. But going down.
What advantages, aside from the step over step, you feel the Genium does give you, as opposed to the older C legs that would just lock so that they wouldn't buckle under you?
Yeah. Going downstairs, you honestly cannot tell that I have a prosthetic leg. Like walking downstairs, it's that powered sit down mode. All that stuff is really good. I've had a lot of trouble with the company in Canada trying to warranty stuff or get stuff. Like they've condemned this leg on me because it's out of warranty. And so they won't even, like, I had to get repairs done. It was extremely expensive. And then even then it comes back with no warranty on it, because and that's Autobot Canada. That's not Autobot States or anything.
Yeah.
That's just a Canadian company. They kind of left me in the lurch, and big.
They do that in America too, because you bring up a good point. The only reason I discovered osseointegration was I believe I've got an Autobox C leg.
Yes.
And I don't wear, I wear my leg. My friends will tell you it's like once a week, maybe socially, because of all the problems we deal with. I just want to get home and pull it off. So it's really not worn down for the 4 or 5 years that I've had it, maybe even 7, but it's out of warranty. And that's when I contacted my prosthetist and I said, I'm probably due for you guys to take a look at this for refurbishment or something. There's like, there's nothing we can do with it. It's out of warranty. It's in good shape. I mean, you don't need any repairs, thankfully, because you don't wear it a lot or use it a lot. But that's when I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have to upgrade to a new knee component, I'm going to start thinking about the Genium. And that's how I stumbled, no pun intended, upon osseointegration and that procedure. I'm like, well, shit. I mean, at my age, I'm 59, going on 60 next year. If this works, it'll give me a new lease on life. If not, I mean, I'm going downhill anyway, right? As we get older, why not try it? And that's how I lucked into finding the clinical study. But all of this was related to figuring out what kind of knee component I'm going to use. So we're going to for now use my existing C leg, since it's still in pretty good shape, because I said to them, no, I don't want you to like put into Medicare to get me a new C leg, because I've got one that works. Let's use this after my procedure, but explore if I might be able to get a Genium, because I just feel like, because it gives you a little bit more options, I guess, aside from the step over step. If they'll cover it, it might be a better, because when I use my C leg, David, when I go downstairs, because it does lock, I always felt very natural going downstairs with the C leg. So if the Genium does the same thing, but going upstairs is a problem, maybe I'm just I'm thinking the Genium is better because it's newer, but maybe it's really not going to provide much difference. I don't know.
There's a couple more fancier features on it and stuff like this, but from what I've seen and some other people, they're quite similar. One was just the version. Now
I'm sorry, David. I hit the. Could you repeat that? I was trying to take your X-ray down. I hit you. I'm sorry. You were down for a moment. Could you go back?
You're not the first person that's tried to cut me off.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay. No. Where was I?
We're talking Genium.
They've got a new leg coming out now. That's like, this is old technology already. I heard that they have a new leg coming out, and so it's supposed to be a lot better. The biggest thing on the X3 is because, like, at the time of my accident, I was a deputy fire chief at a fire hall, like a volunteer fire hall, and this is the one leg that could put me back into literally being on the department and actually going into a burning building.
Being on the job.
because it's waterproof. I could kneel in a puddle with it, whatever. Whereas your Genium is not.
Okay.
Yours is not waterproof. This one here, I've gone wakeboarding with it at the pool, like stuff like that. Like,
I want to look into one that's waterproof, and if it's not a Genium, I'd rather get something that's waterproof than deal with a Genium. So at least I've got the options to explore and see what.
yes, and so like I say, that's part of it. But because of the osseointegration, like private or public pools are not recommended. There's
Even with even with the, because I know you're not supposed to go in lakes and rivers, but my doctor said to me, pools because of the chlorination, and of course, oceans because it's salt water, it's
Yes.
natural. Yeah.
But would you risk getting an infection because they didn't clean the pool properly that day?
Right.
That's basically what it comes down to. I mean, it's
unless somebody creates some kind of a rubber sheath that you can put over. I don't even know if those are waterproof or tight enough.
Oh yeah, you actually there are shower. Yeah, if you look it up, you can find them. Me and another fella that was in there with me at the same time, we looked it up, and you can buy covers for it. And he's very active. He's into mountain biking, etc. They stuck me in with somebody that was 20 years younger than me, and me and him would just compete constantly when we're recuperating. So, but we did look it up. You can get shower covers for like broken leg stuff. They'll work. I used my old cover and just put it over top of the piece over front. Right, I had an old one, and I just used it, and it sealed up on my leg.
Was it a foam cover?
No, it was the silicone one. So yeah, you can get different covers and stuff like that that will work, and then you can go in and there it's sealed. As it is, like say, I still take baths, stuff like that. Now it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, I know where the water comes from. I know what it is. I clean off. Like, I don't soak it in there the whole time. I just
But if you're standing in a shower, I mean, I've got the shower head attachment. I clean. I mean, you have to. Yeah. I mean, I was anyway before this, taking showers and really being clean. But
yes,
you worry about because we do have the issue of, because there's an open wound there where it's not a wound, but there's an open stoma there where the implant comes out, and you have to deal with some residual drainage, which is kind of gross, but it's unfortunately the trade-off.
Well, think of it as an eyelid. What comes out of there, in a sense, it's almost like if you've slept, if you've been working in dusty conditions, and the next day you wake up in the morning and your eyes are all crusted over.
Yeah, that's true. It's the same thing. It's discharge.
Yeah. And I actually use eye drops to lubricate my legs so that.
Oh, wow.
I use eye drops. And that's one of the things that I use. Like if it all of a sudden sticking to the shaft or something, I'll just put some gel eye drops on them, and that clears it up right away and stuff. So, and I clean it up with saline twice a day, and I put a 4x4 gauze pad that I just fold over, and I wrap it around, tape it on, and that takes care of it. Like there's just a little bit of seepage, and then I keep a compression sock, kind of a compression sock, like a tube that they have at the hospital. I have some of those. And I keep that on, and part of it is because I've got so much loose skin at the bottom, it compresses it and keeps it from flapping around and hurting. And second of all, because of what I do, I'm out in the open, I'm out in fields, I'm out in dirty conditions, that keeps the dust out too, like dust or I'm not a shorts type person. I'm not afraid to show my leg, but I've never worn shorts in my life to speak of, and I'm in coveralls half the time. But so I use that compression sock too to keep it clean.
That's an area I want to go into, the exposed hardware, in a moment, because it kind of relates to what my friend Art is asking about in the chat about like upgrades. Or he says, I imagine that a 3D printer could design and or create their own attachments that may be available and better. Is that foreseeable? And to Art's point, one of the things, because my friends will tell you, I'm a little vain, and I'm not too proud to not admit it. And I think it's going to be pretty cool to like have the exposed prosthetic limb, but I also know even when I had my socket prosthetic limb with the foam covering, if you didn't have it put together properly, you'd go through the sharp edges of that would ruin your trousers. So as I'm looking at most osseointegration patients going with the bare hardware look, I'm hoping that, and I've been looking online. I haven't seen anything regarding cosmesis. They call the foam coverings for an artificial leg prosthetic limb of cosmesis. It can be foam, it can be kind of a hard shell, but I'm not seeing any osseointegration patients that have some semblance of filling out their trousers with something like a foam covering. And I understand probably too, because it's hard since the stem is coming out of us. It's not like a socket that something would attach to. So have you explored any of those options? I know your wife sews zippers into your pants, which is cool. And, you know, or you go with your shorts. But, you know, if you're going to put your suit on and go to a nice fancy event and, you know, you don't want your trousers to look like you got a skeleton leg underneath. Have you seen any advancements there?
I've got quite a long leg.
Okay.
So that takes care. And actually, believe it or not, like before I got the osseointegration, my leg was down to like that big, like that, you know, and now I'm one of the few people like that I've got, like my leg has gotten back like to both my legs are the same size.
Yeah. You've got a longer leg so that it does fill the trousers. I'm high up. So it's like, because that's just something I'm going to see if there are any people that specialize in maybe customizing that to help people who've got shorter limbs that don't, you know, if they're wearing long trousers and stuff.
Actually, yeah, you'll have to like do some 3D foam or something like that. And it wouldn't be a problem under there. And like say, for me, it doesn't bother me, like stuff like that. But like say, my legs are both the same size now, and my muscle mass on both legs is the same.
Okay.
And that all depends on the surgeon and how they reconnect. Because when they do the surgery, it's not just a matter of it's not just working with the bone. They're working with the
muscles.
Plastic surgeon. They're working with you know, all those muscles got reconnected and pulled and yanked and torn and shoved back into different places and reattached. And each person's different. Absolutely, every person's different at how they're going to do that, because they got to try to figure out what muscle's going to do what and what's going to do where when. And so so it's not just a matter of cutting the leg off, it's a matter of reconnecting muscles and reconnecting everything inside. That on the original amputation, they basically just cut off and leave, right?
Yeah. You have a lot of soft tissue, fleshy tissue that seats you in the socket comfortably as you can.
Yes.
But when I was wearing my socket, you know, let's say that this is my trunk and this is my leg. You know, my leg was never all the way straight down. It would kind of be a little bit forward. So what I'm dealing with right now, every night before I go to sleep, I roll over I never sleep on my stomach, but I'm forcing myself to roll out on my stomach because the muscles in the very front are very tight. And I know once I'm standing on a new limb, I'm going to have to straighten, even though I'm pushing this muscle back in my hip to straighten. It's very, very tight. So I know I'm just going to have to keep doing these exercises of lying on my stomach to slowly start stretching that front muscle that never had to stretch straight like that before, because it was always a little bit bent forward because your socket was almost kind of like a seat underneath you. Now, as people could see, you know, from the x-rays, and I'll add this once more, I'll show yours.
Yes.
You know, this is in complete alignment with your actual natural bone on your right side. And that's, you know, my shorter limb is going to have to align and go straight down and angle backwards the way my good leg does. So as you talk about the plastic surgeon was in the surgery, they did the skin flap, and I know they were conscious of this, but stretching exercises right now to get this front muscle used to being straight is right now the biggest challenge that I'm facing, just because it's not painful, but it's tight. And it's like, I think that's going to be the thing I got to overcome in the next couple months.
Yeah, and that's to get the straight walking out of there. That's one thing that I do. I stretch that constantly. Every morning, every evening, I still have to stretch it. And I'll literally take my my limb and I'll put it on my wheel. Like I still wheel around in the house in the wheelchair. Like when I do, like when I get out of, you know, like when I get into bed and stuff like this, I'll just whip myself out of the wheelchair. I've done it for so long, it's just used to it. And but I'll just put my leg on the wheelchair, my head on the bed, and I'll literally stretch myself into a U. And that's how I literally can stretch it all the way back now. Yeah. And that's what but I've got to keep it limber, because if I don't keep it limber, it tightens up on me, and it's like you said, it's it's something you have to work on all the time.
Yeah.
Physiotherapist, the hardest part with her was trying to keep me from doing too much. Like, I'd come home and I'd be doing everything, and then she just kind of looked at me like, you're doing more than the physiotherapy exercise. Half the exercises I'd be giving you, you're doing way more than that. So so my physiotherapy exercises got shortened because they would have been overworking me with the exercises on top of what I was doing at home.
Yeah. Let me show some of the videos you shared with me that are close-ups of the process of putting this baby on.
Yes.
So there you are. My stem is about that short too. How it's going to connect
On.
So that's it. Art.
That's it.
Art, my
That's
friend
mine.
Art in the live chat. Remember how we shot the video of me putting my leg on, and how long it took? That's how quick I'm going to be able to get it on. That's how quick I'm going to be able to get it on now. And let's show how quickly it comes off. Let me get that video up. And there, I think that's the one. Let's double check here. Yeah, here's okay. So here it is. Removing it quickly as opposed to the unbearable socket coming out. Wow, that's amazing. So did you have did you have the 2-step procedure or the 1-step? Because
It was the 1-step.
Oh, you did?
One up.
Okay. Even though it's pretty high, because I know that it's the Oprah process that I forgot what the acronym is for. Osseointegrated something, prosthetics something. But that's where you go in the first time they do the first step of the implant. Like my guest Dale last week, he's doing the 2-stage process. He's got to wait for this to heal, then go in for the second stage.
Yes.
But you had the single stage.
Single stage on mine, yes. And see, the surgeons I'm working with, they worked very closely with the surgeons in Australia, with Henji or whatever I believe his name is or something. They actually got trained in Australia. This is the surgeon that I worked with and stuff like this. So they're on that same group, and so also all my information from this study and all my information goes to the Australian group too, for them to look over, and all my medical stuff like this. And because I've been on the fire department, stuff like this, I've seen so much stuff that I don't have a problem with them sharing medical information with me, with my medical and stuff. And so I'm part of the long-term study. The study was only supposed to be 2 years, but I'm on the long-term part of it now. Like, so I end up having to go and get checked out, and they do like a vibration vibration test on my anchor and stuff like this. And they check it out and keep track of it, and that tells them in a way how anchored it is, stuff like this. So they're really doing a lot of informational stuff with that study here in Canada and Alberta.
I think I'm my clinical study is a 5-year one too, where it's really the first year or two that is the most important, but they still want to monitor you. And I'm thinking, if this is to gain FDA approval, I feel bad. It's going to take 5 years for me and 9 other candidates here in Chicago till they offer this particular implementation. But Art, yes, thank you. You take back all the times. Well, I was late, but now you know why I was late, getting myself put together to get out of the house. So you're talking about the Osseointegration group in Australia?
Yes.
What they're called?
Yes.
Yeah, I friended them on Facebook. They've been they called me when I was looking for information before I participated in the study here in Chicago. Great group, very helpful, even though what I was doing ultimately had nothing to do with their services. I was so impressed with the time they spent on the phone talking with me and guiding me. It was very, very, it was really thoughtful that, they're invested in educating and helping amputees that are exploring these procedures. Now, obviously, we're all aware Canada's got a different healthcare system than the United States. I would dare say I think it's a better system because everything down here is for profit. But you told me that you did face some challenges also in figuring out. I would assume, let me set this up. I would assume even an elective procedure like this, because it's going to improve your quality of life, wouldn't be difficult to get covered under Canadian healthcare. But it sounds like it wasn't. There would still be the expenses related to your portion would still be obviously insurmountable. So tell us a little bit about how you navigated the costs and then your way to the study that you participated in.
A lot of it, like I kind of looked at it in Australia, it was going to cost me at the time. This was back in 2019 when I first looked at it. It was going to cost $100,000 American for the operation. Plus, I had to have my own place to stay up there for like a month. I think it was, and then
let me interrupt you real quickly. They weren't offering this procedure in Canada yet? Was it us? Because I've mentioned a couple times that I was shocked that this procedure has been available for over a decade in other countries, especially Australia in the EU, but had it not yet entered the Canadian medical system as far as surgical procedures?
No, it had not.
Okay.
And so as far as I knew, and
Okay.
so I kind of looked at it that way, at that, and so I mean, I don't know. I just spent a whole pile of money on my leg, which was, it wasn't all insurance paid. Me and my wife, we ended up paying $20,000 of my own leg, out of our own pocket, and so
Canada.
Yeah, in Canada.
So Canada doesn't cover prosthetic expenses, or do they to a certain point you wanted to get something that was a little bit better quality?
Yes, they covered the basic.
Okay.
And so I did have an insurance policy through the fire department and also the vehicle insurance. They paid for a lot of it. Alberta Health did, like the healthcare system here, did pay for part of that leg, but only as much as they would have paid in a basic leg.
Okay.
So they did contribute, but only as much money as they would have contributed for a basic leg to put me into a basic leg.
Everything's got to be basic, David,
Yes.
because nobody wants to improve the quality of life so that you can be more useful and go back to your job as you did, because you don't want to be somebody who's not valuable or productive. It's like always the basic stuff there, here. It's just,
But
it drives me crazy. And as I'm sure most people, it's like, why wouldn't you want to give people what they need so they can be productive again, so that they can work, and you're not bitching about them being on social security disability or this or that. It's just like, just do what's necessary, man, so a person can be whole again and re-enter society and be as productive as they can be, Yeah.
Well, I applied for a disability pension from the Canada government, and I got denied 3 times. So
Oh, man.
it's
Why would they deny you?
What?
Why do you think they denied you? You had a
Well,
legitimate disability.
I was still active on the fire department. I was still active
because you were working, because it showed you could work. It's like, yeah, but it wasn't easy.
Well, that was volunteer. It wasn't.
Oh,
even,
okay.
So it was all volunteer stuff, right? I was active on the fire department. Where I was working at the time, I got let go there, and right on the separation slip, it was because you can't work here with only one leg. And that was kind of funny because I'm doing the same customers right now, but on my own.
Yeah.
But I was a service manager at a New Holland dealership. So, but it's just different places and different stuff. But here are the healthcare system. Each province, which is like a state, has their own healthcare system, and so each one is different. And Alberta, this part of the study is to show the Alberta healthcare system and the Canada healthcare system the cost benefits of having this operation compared to having like this operation in the long term over 20 years is cheaper than having a socket.
I've said, that it's going to save you costs, and that's why it's like, how about we do preventative healthcare? Because you touched on something I was shocked that I talked about in my first show. The long-term benefits, this is going to be more cost-effective long-term to get this procedure and get the prosthetic than if you're going in for sockets and upgrades all the time.
Well, they told me every 3 months I had to come in for an alignment on my socket. That's what they told me. I know because I was doing my own, and every 3 years they build you a new socket, because most everybody they change so much that they literally have to build them a new socket. Well, I was just modifying mine to fit, right, to work. Like I knew I was getting, especially by the time I knew I was getting osseointegration, I was not going to go in and get it fitted again. I was not going to go in.
Yeah.
So, but I kept it working, and I kept it working. But most people can't do that. Most people can't,
So they wanted to give you the basic setup, and that's when you looked at Australia and saw it was like over $100,000 there.
Yes.
And pick up the story from that point, because obviously that it's like who can afford that?
Plus the expenses to stay there.
Right.
You had to get your own. You had to pay for your own physiotherapist and everything down there, and then and then you come back, and then you're hoping that if anything happened down here, that you would be covered by the healthcare system here. Like, so if there was any complications or anything like that. So that's why I thought it was just great that I got into the study. I was the third in Western Canada to get this done.
How'd you find out about the study?
Through my prosthesis, actually, because I was to the point that, like, I wore my leg lots, like, and so I'd wear my leg, and if I took it off in the middle of the day, I couldn't put it back on for blisters.
Yeah,
Literally,
yeah,
I had to. If I had to readjust, I literally had to readjust with it on there, and just hope it would stay on good. Because if I literally took the socket off, I couldn't put it back on for the blisters. And so every night I would get blisters, and they would go, and they were sending me to the, like to the wound clinic, stuff like this, like for blisters. And so all I was told, well, don't wear your leg for 3 days. It's like, come on, give me a break. I'm wearing my leg. Like,
I had a big weekend last year in October. One weekend was my high school reunion. The following weekend was Halloween. It's probably the 1 week of the year that I wore my leg the most, because I was with friends the first weekend. The second weekend, I'm trying to walk around without my cane in my character of choice. And I had to keep my leg off for a week after that because of the bone against the soft tissue and the abrasion from the way that the socket was pressing against the skin. Nobody should have to I was actually over a week. I had to wait for my leg to heal till I could put it on again. And that's, that was also testimony to the fact that, like, I can't deal with these sockets anymore. That was like the one, because I normally didn't wear my leg that often during the year. And it's like when I finally forced myself to, because there were a lot of social activities I wanted to go out for, it reminded me, oh yeah, this is why I'm not wearing my leg all the time. Because now I got to wait a week or more for the abrasion where the femur was pressing against the soft tissue in the outer portion of my skin grafts. It was so painful, David. I mean, you know what it's like.
I know. Yeah, I just got told that my volume isn't very high. So.
Oh, I'm hearing you fine on this end.
Okay.
Not sure why. I mean, you're coming through pretty clearly.
Okay, somebody else.
Let's ask the live chat. Is David's volume okay out there? Someone want to post back? By the way, Art asks, I need to ask, would you be offended if the next James Bond villain bad guy was an amputee who uses prosthetics as a cool weapon? Hey, why not James Bond be the guy who loses his limb and uses his prosthetics as a cool weapon? No, I wouldn't be offended. I think, hey man, if the villain has a good background and a reason for what he's doing, he's just not a villain to be a villain. And you understand his motives. I wouldn't mind. It would add to character. But Art also says, yeah, your volume's good, David. You should be
okay. Cool. No, good.
Yeah.
So, no, that's no. I think James Bond is the one that should be wearing the leg.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you need more. There was a movie called Skyscraper with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he played a security guard. He was like fighting bad guys in this building on a skyscraper, and he had an artificial limb, I think, from below the knee. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, as much as I wish we could do that stuff with a socket, no. Sorry, thank you, Dwayne, for like elevating us. But like, I mean, I was watching that movie saying, I wish my socket, would allow me to do the stuff he's running around doing. Maybe this would, and in Osseointegrated implant would, but not a socket prosthesis.
No, but you can kick somebody's butt like
this. Take it off and use it as a club.
Yeah. So, but like I said, that's how fast it comes off, literally. So it's I can tell if I'm driving or something, it gets a little uncomfortable. I just take it off in the vehicle and I'll put it on before I even get out. So yeah, it's so
give the angle of your seat, the way you're seated, a little bit of a break. Art says Steve Austin, the $6 million man, was an amputee. So is Darth Vader. Darth Vader's a bilateral amputee.
So yes. No. But
now that getting back to navigating the costs and stuff. So you looked at the costs and ultimately your prosthetist shared with you that this clinical study was available. It was the one-stage process. I'm sure you did some due diligence and research ahead of time. Did you have any apprehensions about doing this since it is a fairly new innovation?
Absolutely not, because I'd already researched it on my own beforehand. And then also like my other leg had all been like a year after my original accident, my ACL, PCL, and 5 other reconnections on my other leg had all been redone, because I walked into the doctor's office and I walked in there and he looks at me as like, what are you doing? This was like 9 months after my accident. And I go like, what are you talking about? He says, you just walked in here. I go, well, yeah. He goes, I put that leg to be in together to be in a wheelchair. He says, I didn't put that leg together to walk. So he says, if that's the case, I'm going to build you a knee. So he rebuilt my other leg.
Okay.
And then it was also because of him and another doctor in Lethbridge. They knew just because, well, I mean, that's the kind of will I had.
They knew
So-
you were a good candidate. They knew you were someone
Oh.
that this, if they put you through this program, that you were going to really work hard to make it work beyond what they could do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like say my biggest thing is that they would slow me down because, same as when I start weight bearing, I was told you're only allowed to put this much weight on it for this many minutes. And then you have to wait and then wait 20 minutes and then do it again. And I literally got told, and you don't dare go over, because, I'd always be, trying to do it faster and do more. Right. So, but yeah, a lot of times I got shut down and told to stop. So yes, that's kind of what they needed in some aspects, instead of somebody that, I mean, a lot of people go into stuff like that and they have a hard time with it. And
you have to be healthy and you have to be somewhat active. I mean, I had a very, very difficult time losing weight years ago. And in the past year, I haven't been embarrassed to tell anybody this. My doctor prescribed some weight loss medication. It wasn't Ozempic, but because you're sedentary. And even if you're eating nutritiously and you're exercising, unless you can really get your cardio up as an amputee, it's damn near impossible. And it leads to depression.
yeah,
And, depression leads to you don't want to work out. You put on your leg and go to the gym and deal with all the pain from that. So luckily, the medication I was on for the year before I even decided to move forward with the osseointegration clinical trial got my weight down. Well, not only did it get my weight down, David, my cholesterol is in the green zone now. My blood pressure is normal, whereas I've been on medications for like 6-7 years prior that would never get my cholesterol or my blood pressure into the healthy range. So the weight loss medication helped get me down there. And then when I went in to talk to the doctors, and I was like, I want to lose more weight, and I want to be able to be as fit as I can be, because I am fairly active within my means, despite the limitations of wearing a socket. But yeah, it's like and I think the doctor saw, this guy is serious about this, and he is health conscious. I mean, you don't just have to be health conscious for this. You got to be health conscious so that you have a long life. And that's not to say, I mean, everybody's got challenges. God, I did with the weight until I got on something that helped me. And it was a metabolic issue also. But people talk to your doctors and explore every possible opportunity, even if eating nutritiously and working out isn't helping you. That has to do with body chemistry that you don't have control over. So there's no shame in talking to your doctor about, other means like it's Zepbound. That's the tirzepatide is the weight loss medication that helped me. But yeah, getting back to what you're talking about, your doctor saw you were serious about your health. I'm serious about my health. We're good candidates for this. You discovered the study probably with a lot of relief to see it wasn't going to cost you what Australia was going to charge you. And so walk us forward from there in your experience.
well, yeah. And then my first date was February, March of when COVID started. It was March 6th of the year when COVID started is when I was supposed to have my operation.
2020. I was in the hospital for a knee replacement around then.
And it got canceled for a month. Then it got canceled for 2 months, and then it just kept on. They told me later that doctors were literally just putting in requests, and they just kept on canceling them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even tell me anymore a lot of times. Like I told them, give me 24 hours notice, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And
Well, it was a crazy time. Nobody knew how the hell to manage the virus.
no, exactly. And now it would have been the perfect time because there's nobody in the hospitals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would have been perfect, but because everybody, it was quiet and everything else. But anyways, I finally did get they did get put in and get her done, and that was good. And like I say, the cost wise, it doesn't cost me anything. And even part of the study is they even paid me mileage to go up there for when they do tests and stuff like this. So it's not it's not a lot, but at least I'm not paying anything.
Right.
So it's nothing out of pocket for me. And so I don't have a problem doing the extra, extra time for extra longer study and stuff like that. So and so yes, they've gotten more people through. I'm also doing a lot of not really mentorship, but if they have people that are interested in getting it done or just curious about it, they'll have a clinic up in Edmonton where it's at, and then I'll go up and get tested and stuff. And then a lot of times I'll get phone calls from people, like they'll give them my number and I'll talk to them and stuff like this, like people that are
peer support. Yeah, offering peer support. My prosthetist put me in touch with someone downstate here in Illinois who was a police officer, lost both of his legs, one above, one below the knee, and he's just like, "Don't hesitate." And I'm like, "All right." Everybody I talked to or heard from is just like, "Don't hesitate." I have one friend here in Chicago who's a bilateral amputee. He's remarkable what he accomplishes in a wheelchair. It's difficult for him to wear his limbs, but I'm telling him, Gus, look into this. I haven't talked to him recently, but I'm going to update him on my progress. And another friend of mine saved a young man's life who lost his limb near a train. And I think this young man is now probably in his late 20s, early 30s, but he's young enough to like really gain the benefits of this, because my friend who saved his life is telling him, yeah, he's got difficult situation with his socket. It's always uncomfortable. He's always got problems. So I actually have to hit up my friend also and say, have you told him? Tune into the channel so they can learn more, and hopefully they can, look into doing this to improve their quality of life.
And that's why I don't have a problem letting people know what it is or what, and this is my experience. Somebody else's experience can be totally different, but this is my experience.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem letting people know that. Like my doctors also said, when you're talking to people or talking to these potential people that are interested, you tell them everything. You tell them when it hurts, you tell them the good, you tell them the bad. You don't, it's not that, and it's not everything is perfectly roses. It still hurts at times. And like say, I fell here before Christmas. A lot of that is because I hadn't been on my own socket and my own bones for so long. So I do have some arthritis in my hip now, and I do have a bone spur in there. So I have to be very careful with that right now. So, but even that's getting better and better because I do not like falling. So,
well, aside from the fall that caused you some pain and some recovery time, and you mentioned your arthritis, are there any other times that it hurts when it gets cold? Is the titanium anchored into the bone cause any? Someone asked me, it's like, aren't you worried about the metal getting cold in the bone? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't asked anybody about that.
Well, now you asked, and now you'll find out.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very active outside. When I used to have my socket on, I'd never worried about it. I'd walk right into a snowbank.
Yeah.
I didn't worry about it because that leg was always sweating so bad.
Right.
That you'll literally, it didn't get cold.
Yeah.
But now after, and like say, I do work out on equipment outside in the winter, and now my leg, I get cold from the inside out. So
Okay.
it's a bone, you want to call it bone chilling cold. It's bone chilling cold.
Literally.
It literally starts cooling from the inside, and it's not even describable. But what we did, my wife and I, she's the sewer, and we took some battery operated socks. They're rechargeable, and you can get them on Amazon. And I modified it so that I can put it on that side. It has a hole in it, and we reversed it and did a bunch of folding. And so now I put that on over my leg, under my long underwear, and the battery pack just pins by my belt, and I literally can go 6 hours. I don't dare turn that thing up because I get overheated now.
So you're all layered. It's a layering issue with the battery operated stockinette that you've got on your leg.
Yeah, and so then that's on the meat part of my leg. So the heated part, it actually touches the metal part, and just underneath on the backside of my leg, and that warms everything up. It's kind of like a heated seat, but it's with you the whole time.
Right.
So yeah, it really works really good. And so in the wintertime, I keep 2 batteries with me, and I have chargers in the vehicle. So if I am out, I can always charge them up yet. And so I can keep going, and it's not a big deal.
You obviously have no regrets about this, and nothing that would make you say, I wish I didn't do it. But as you mentioned a moment ago, you have to, give equal time to both sides. So aside from those issues with the bone chilling cold or the hip issues or the falls, is there anything else that you can share from your experience now 3 years in that people at least should be aware of? That could be a little bit difficult.
There can be discharge at times.
Okay.
It is still going to hurt at times. Like my bone does ache sometimes. It just, and they've explained that to me. Like even if it's in my hip, that'll transfer down all the way down into my leg, right? So it does hurt at times, and then your walking gets bad and stuff like this. The biggest thing that limits my walking is my other leg. Like say it's all been rebuilt, including like I said, my knee's all been rebuilt. I still have numb toes and stuff from the original accident. I've got an artificial artery from my ankle all the way to my crotch. So I've been totally rebuilt both sides from top to bottom. So
you talked about that a little bit in your video, but do you want to share more about the accident, the injuries?
Yeah, it's like I say, I don't have a problem with it. Like I shouldn't be here. I was deputy fire chief at the time. I had my fire radio on. I was on my way to work, like at the tractor place in the 7:30 in the morning, and I just spun out and literally thought I was going to have to get pulled out that day. And 60 kilometers an hour, I went into the ditch, and here I am, and I'm listening to my whole call on my own radio.
Wow.
And at the time, that was the most peaceful time in my life. That was so peaceful. It was unbelievable. But I didn't know if I was dead or alive. And I basically just, well, Lord, if I'm alive, then, then I'm fine. And if not, then I'm going with you. Did no regrets, no nothing. It was peaceful. And so.
Did you have an NDE?
You could probably call it that because it was so peaceful. Like say, and because I've been on fire departments for so long, like I also had a collapsed lung, and I was hanging outside my vehicle with my face up against my door, and my legs were inside still backwards.
Jesus.
And so
it hurts just hearing it.
Yeah, but then get this: half the people that showed up, I've trained or helped train or trained with, right? On the fire department is our neighboring fire department, and so almost everybody that showed up knew me, but they literally. I found out later with Stars wasn't going to fly. That's our air ambulance. The weather was too bad for them to fly. They weren't going to fly. So, but then all of a sudden I heard on the radio come through, Stars is coming in hot. Have the patient ready, which I've dealt with Stars enough. I've landed Stars like 15 times. Like I've been the landing officer and stuff like that. So I've dealt with them lots. That means they're coming in. They're not shutting engines down. They're going to load you and go. That is it. And so they got me down to the hospital, and then my wife was able to see me for like a minute, and they literally shoved me into the helicopter, and they said it was one of their bumpiest rides they've ever had, because I think it was a decision that the whole team on the Stars team basically just got together and said, let's go pick them up. You know what I mean? It was one of those ones, the weather was too bad to go, but they just they decided they were going. So
how long was your recovery after they put you back together like the $6 million man?
They thought I'd be in the hospital in Calgary for at least 3 months. Week and a half later, I'm on my way to Lethbridge. That's our local hospital here, more local. And
so you went from the trauma hospital or the critical care to the
yeah. They thought I'd be there 3 months, and I'm like, he's doing good, might as well go. And so then I took an ambulance ride from Calgary to Lethbridge, which is about 2.5 hours, and it ended up snowing. And it ended up being a snowstorm coming up a hill. Big truck pulls in front of the ambulance.
Oh boy!
Ambulance does a 360 into the ditch.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Oh my God! Rolling around, banging up again. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. But being as I knew what it would take to get that ambulance or to get a patient transfer done in that weather, like, because I'm a fire department, I know what it would take. They'd have to block the whole road off, bring another ambulance out, and endanger a lot of lives to get me transferred. I'm talking to the guys like, hey guys, just try to get out again. So finally they were like, no, we got to call it in and get somebody coming. Like, well, get somebody coming, just try again. And all of a sudden, bang, he got out of the ditch, 35 to 40 miles an hour all the way back to Lethbridge, but moving in the ambulance in a snowstorm. And at least they were able to get me back. So, but I just knew that by the time you get 3 or 4 trucks out there, how many personnel are you endangering in a snowstorm?
Yeah.
Like trying to transfer a patient over, and so, but I was still smiling.
Well, dude, we're the lucky ones. When I was talking with my guest last week, Dale and his wife, Kimberly, we were talking about our experiences, and it's, as much as it's a pain in the ass what we went through, we're the lucky ones. I mean, there are people who are not, deal with so much far worse injuries, disabilities, challenges. I've said a couple times now, I'm hoping as I get more traffic to this channel, and by the way, everybody out there watching, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it recorded on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel and share it to your disabled friends, because I do think ultimately what we're talking about here has to do with whether you're an amputee or dealing with another kind of disability, affordability and accessibility to help improve your quality of life, no matter what your disability is. I think is how this channel might end up evolving, past sharing my experiences and the experiences of guests to help guide people suffering with limb loss. It's like, we're going to have a mother load of information here, but let's talk about the other issues that relate to anybody that's dealing with any kind of disability, and just the, healthcare system altogether too, ultimately.
And well, the fire department, like when they sent me off in the ambulance, like they literally, I've talked to some of the guys later, and they said, we thought we were shipping you away. You weren't coming back.
Man. Yeah.
And so, but they said I was the calmest patient they've ever had, because I was fire department. I knew what they were doing. I knew, like, I had a collapsed lung, so I kept myself calm, like, because I knew what was going on. I knew. Yeah.
You impressed me as a calm guy anyway, so I can see why they would say that.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So, and that was part of my position and stuff like that too. Like, and so all that worked out really well and stuff that way. But mind you, I had a lot of visitors when I was in the hospital. Every time some of the ambulance and stuff would go through that I knew, all of a sudden I'd have people come into my room. And all of a sudden I get the nurses asking them, why do you have so many ambulance people coming to your room all the time? Well, I know them.
It's your, it was like your shop away from shop.
Yes. So,
not home away from home, shop away from shop. It was your mobile office.
Yes. Well, in a sense, yes. And I mean, it was a volunteer position, but I still took it. Take it seriously. Right. So, and a lot of training and everything else involved. And I did help for quite a few years after. I helped with training and stuff like that after yet too. I'm not on anymore, but yes, it did help and hopefully helped a lot of people and stuff like this. So,
well, this has been very helpful too. I mean, I've learned a lot from you, thankfully. I mean, last week we had Dale on talking about, medical, you saw that, the insurance coding and stuff. He just had his first procedure. I've had my one-step procedure. He and I are both awaiting what's next, and you've really helped fill in a lot of the blanks about what's next and what to look forward to, or what to expect, and what to just kind of be conscious of on the negative side, which thankfully it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of negative. It seems like the negative is manageable as opposed to the benefits.
Well, considering what we're going from, it's like we're coming from a socket to going to this. Like I said, I haven't had my alignment adjusted in 3 years. Like, I've had it checked. They check it when I go up there, and it's just like, it's dead on. It's dead on. We got her. It's dead on. So, and it's nice knowing you put on your leg and you just get up and go.
And your gait is consistent too. That's probably why there are no more adjustments, because your body is reacclimated to how you walk.
Yes, exactly. And so, yes, it's so much nicer. Like I say, I've got a dirty shop here. I've got cords, I've got hoses, everything else. I walk over that stuff, and I can tell you when when I step on something, I can tell you what it is.
Yeah.
If I step on a bolt, I can tell you, I stepped on that bolt. Like same as, like somebody with 2 legs, they step on a bolt and they say, oh, I stepped on a bolt. They know, just how do they know? Well, they just kind of know they dropped a bolt earlier and I stepped on a bolt. Well, I can tell you too, I've got hoses under my feet right now, I even had an experiment. My son at the time, after I got my osseointegration, he'd like when I was recuperating, he would gently tap the side of my foot and I'd close my eyes. And I could tell him, like, I'd say it was 95% accurate. I could tell him, and he was going as gentle as he could tap. And I could tell him what side of my shoe he was tapping, literally. And so the perception of everything it comes back.
And you're dealing with just what we would call analog artificial leg, because now I've heard at the Shirley Ryan Ability Center here in Chicago, which is a very, very big rehabilitation institute, kind of at the forefront of innovation and technology when it comes to limb loss. They have studies where they are attaching electrodes from the microprocessor in the knee to your skin so that you're neurally controlling with your mind the movement in the leg. So one of the things and I was just going to say, I don't know if you've talked with your prosthetist or people up there. Once I get into my leg, they're always like, we're always looking for candidates for these studies. Like, well, that might be the next step, the Neuralink connection with whatever's connected to the microprocessor in the knee, using whatever connections to your skin so that you do have a little bit more control as opposed to just waiting for a programmed knee that is pretty reliable. But man, if you can still control everybody out there, those of us with limb loss that don't have our knees, it's far more challenging than those that do. I mean, I always hear people saying, oh, well, how hard is it for you? Because, I see people with one leg playing basketball. It's like, yeah, they've got their knees and they can control their knees with their minds. You can't control your knee when you're above knee amputation. So these newer innovations that they're exploring with neural link wires to electrodes or sensors to your residual limb, depending on how that works, might be the next step towards something being, as people call, bionics or something else. Have you talked with your prosthetist or specialist up there about looking into some of those research studies or being a candidate to see do you want to take it to that next step, or are they available? Have you inquired about it?
They've not really been available here as such. So it would end up being in the States or somewhere like that. Okay. I did do a lot of they did a lot of testing. I have like in the gait lab, stuff like this, and they do similar to what they do for actors and stuff, like when they go into the movies and they put all the dots on them and stuff.
Yeah, motion capture.
And then they put electrodes on my leg and stuff like this. And so as I'm walking with the electrodes on my leg. And they're also checking my gait and everything. Right. And they're checking exactly how my muscles and everything are firing and stuff like that.
That's remarkable.
So that they take the study pretty extensive and stuff like this. So yes, so that's kind of like on the verge of it. But it has to be say every person, like what I found is every amputation is different.
Yeah.
And every person is different. So what works for one person doesn't work for the next person. So that's a lot of what I tell people too when I'm talking to them is it's got to be what's for you. It's not what's for me. I can't tell you it would be a great idea. I can tell you I like it, but you have to decide for yourself.
Everybody's got to but the possibilities are there.
Yes. These are your options. Here you go.
Look, just go Google search it. I also want to mention to my audience out there, as David has here and Dale last week with his wife Kimberly have contacted me to come on the show and share their experiences. I would urge anybody out there that wants to come on that's an amputee, either that's had osseointegration, thinking about osseointegration, dealing with perhaps limb loss issues, you can email me, Jerry at myoijourney.com. You can find that email address on my website, myoijourney.com. It's actually at the bottom there, my social media too. You can see that's my hashtag. As long as you remember, it's myoijourney.com or social media links. That's how you can find me. And I'd love to have more people on the program talking about these issues, as well as issues related to other disabilities, other challenges people are dealing with, so we can talk about it and I don't know, try to find some resources or directions to solve some of these issues that everybody that's disabled has to deal with, whether it's from limb loss or other kind of motor skill function challenges. David, is there anything else that I mean, I think we've been so comprehensive in covering and you sharing so much very, very valuable information here tonight. Is there anything that I've missed asking you about that you want to share?
I do know, like in Canada, they're doing it in I believe in Quebec now, and they might be starting to do it in Ontario. But a lot of it has been workman's comp has been pushing on it. Workman's comp is separate from the healthcare system, so they've been pushing it and stuff like this. And I do believe some of the people that are coming into the study may end up they were workman's comp also, or look, yeah, the one guy I know for sure that just had it done a while ago was workman's comp, and so it was workman's comp that's been helping to push them into this and stuff like this too. So I think the Workmen's Compensation Board here in Canada has been doing a lot of it, a lot of pushing on that aspect, but it's trying to get they're doing the study to try to get the provinces to show them financially it is more viable to do it this way than with the traditional ways and stuff like this, which and some of the, and I'll let you know, like medical costs, medical components, sockets, non-sockets, anything to do with medical, the prices are ridiculous.
Of course they are. They're vampires.
I just, okay, my leg did go down on me once. I made it fell, and then it went berserk on me, and I had to get it sent back in. It was $3,500 to get it back, and even then it was with no guarantee. It was just, and
you've heard the horror stories about the American medical system too. Yeah. I mean, everything here is for profit, and because we've been brainwashed and indoctrinated our whole lives to think this is the way it is and this is the way it should be, and then you discover, despite the fact, obviously, it's not perfect in Canada, but there are other countries that recognize the value of a socialized medical system that does give their citizens at least some modicum of care, as opposed to here, if you don't have money, you don't have great insurance, you're shit out of luck. And then when you go on Medicare, right, you can't find work to supplement yourself, because the moment you earn a certain amount of money, then you lose your Medicare. But it's like you have no guarantee that if you show your value in a job, you're not going to get insurance that's going to cover you the way Medicare does. It's all a catch-22 with this for-profit healthcare system. But I would urge anybody in any country, any viewers here, talk to your major talk to the orthopedics department in all of your major medical centers and medical learning institutions, because doctors who are offering these clinical trial studies, you're going to get the highest quality of care if you decide to participate in a study, because they want to see successful outcomes so that ultimately these procedures will be available for more people. So all I can say is, when people are worried about the challenges of the costs, just do your research. Talk to the orthopedic departments at your hospital. I mean, here in Chicago, Northwestern is a teaching hospital. So is Rush Presbyterian. Although Rush Presbyterian, as great a hospital as it does, their orthopedic department didn't even know what osseointegration was till I talked to Northwestern and found out these clinical trials are available. So just do a little bit of digging and research, and you might find a clinical trial where you'll get an excellent quality of care, because that's what's going to advance this stuff for more availability, and hopefully eventually more affordability, the more widely available these procedures are.
Yes, and different countries. So like and sharing the information, like you say, it's if you start looking, there is starting to be more and more information about it. It's just finding the right places to look.
Yeah.
That's and like say, even parts of my study and the study that I'm part of and stuff like this, that information getting out, and a lot of times it's kept between doctors and stuff, but if you start digging, you can find some of that information. So yeah. And it's not just about osseointegration, like you said, it's a whole wellness thing. It's people with other illnesses or other diseases, and it's also like a mindset. Like I said, I don't have a handicap sticker on my vehicles.
Yeah.
partly because I'll leave that for the people that need it. You know,
I had a friend once tell me, you know, because here in the States, dental is not covered, nor is optical. But she told me, you know, when you've got insane costs to the dentist, because dental insurance is like a joke here. You know, you pay the premium and you're still paying as much to the dentist. Go to dental schools, because they're teaching students, and they want to make sure the students are doing things right. You're going to get as a good quality of care at a dental school, participating there at a lower cost, and get the work done. It's
or
just
if not, you'll get it repaired for free.
What's that?
You know, if not, you'll get it repaired for free if they
Right,
did mess
right.
up.
Do it right eventually.
Yes.
David, before I bring the show to a close, I'm going to run a little message from our sponsor. And by the way, you are going to be receiving a lovely parting gift. And this is what you'll be receiving for your cane when I get your address after the program.
Are you a cane or crutch user seeking greater support on the beach, golfing, gardening, or going up or down stairs? How about a tip that freestands both canes and crutches when not in use? Regular cane and crutch tips won't work on all surfaces. You've tried the rest, now get the best. Introducing the Easy Walk by Sandpad Brands, the only cane and crutch pad providing stability on sand, grass, snow, mud, rocky terrain, as well as regular paved surfaces.
You're gonna have to come out with an Easy Walk heated sock yet.
An Easy Walk heated socket?
Sock.
Oh, Easy Walk heated sock. Well, you know what? You invented it. You thought of it. So you ought to like take that to market. This is something I conceived of and brought to market and invented with my father, because I couldn't get across beaches with my crutches. So mentioning that you still use a cane occasionally, if you have a challenge with your cane tip going into the, or you'll tell me, you want a pair, you want a single, whatever you want, I'll get your address and I'll ship some to you being grateful for you joining us and sharing your story with us and really helping promote more awareness and education about the topic here. So
yes,
the least I can do. And
okay, well, that sounds perfect. Thank you very much, and like I say, thank you for all the listeners, and hopefully everybody has a great day.
Yeah. Is there anything? Do you have anything you want to promote? Anything that you want to share aside from just talking about your experiences here?
Just like I said, it's every day gets better.
That's right. And as I like to say at the end of every program, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Thanks to David for joining us. Thanks to all our viewers out there that are watching. Please like and subscribe, spread the link to the channel to everybody you know, so we can get more viewers here and more people educated about osseointegration. I thank you all for joining us tonight. And stay strong out there, stay safe, and we will see you again next week, hopefully with some new guests, or I will update you on my progress. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and really appreciate you all. Hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Have a good night.